Hello. So, am I audible? Hi. So, am I audible? Can you hear me? Because I can't hear anybody. So, I think you're muted. So, two people have joined in, Devasish and Arul Mini. Just want to check if you can hear me and see me.
Yeah, I'm there. I can hear you.
Okay. Great. So, this is the week 5 session. So we can discuss the content for week 5, and if you have any problems with any of the previous week's content as as well. So the week 5 assignment is still um, it's still going on. It's still due. There's 1 day left, I think, for the assignment. So we can't discuss the week 5 assignment, but we can discuss the previous week's assignment as well if you want. Otherwise, I can share a few practice questions for week 5, and we can discuss that. But like, just heads up that because this is a TA session and there's not like much theory to be taught in this particular course, the the TA live sessions are meant to be like more interactive and more discussion based. So I would require the participation of the students basically. So let me just open the practice questions. Right. So firstly, has everyone gone through the week 5 content already, or is something remaining? There are only 2 lectures actually in week 5. That'll tell me where you are, like in terms of covering the course.
Yeah, last week's course was fantastic. In fact, Professor Anil Gupta was, I really loved doing his classes, and
Right.
his insights are so touching. And in fact, those were practically mind-blowing sessions. I really loved the classes.
Great.
That's
It's
one of the
they're
feedbacks
very
I wanted to give you.
okay. So actually, it'll be good if you can fill out the feedback form on the website also. There is a feedback form for every week's content on the portal, on the Swayam portal, because I don't have the access to pass on the feedback to the concerned
No,
people.
I already have that. Sure, I will do that. I'll
Yeah,
do
I
that.
mean, just
I'll do
if you
that.
fill that, that'll also be good for the course and the course team and everyone. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and I have a question. I have
yeah,
a
sure.
question, if it is possible to answer. In fact, the week before, Professor B.K. Chakravarti was taking the sessions.
Right.
In one of the case studies, he cited about hero group uh, case. There, he mentioned during the sessions that uh, all trucks from all over the places were.
So your voice is breaking up. I can't hear you. I think, did you lose connection or something? I think you lost audio. Yeah, sorry. I think my internet glitched for a few minutes, so I lost some of what you said. Could you just repeat what you were saying about the hero cycles?
Let me just please. Yes. In question number 3, question number 3, it was mentioned that the manufacturing plants were also crowded with trucks.
With
There
sorry,
was
what?
option in one
Yes.
of the options.
Right.
It was mentioned that the manufacturing plants were also always crowded with trucks. But
Mm-hmm.
during the session, during the lecture, it was mentioned that the gates were crowded with trucks. So that's why I did not select this option,
Okay.
and eventually it was marked incorrect.
Yeah, so actually I don't have the access for the course content on the portal. That
Mhm,
the whole marking and the assignments and everything is done by a different team. My
mhm.
responsibility is only for the live sessions actually. So I think it'll be better if you email the course team on NPTEL and if you can tell them. I think what they meant was that like when they say at the gate, they mean like the gate of the factory, basically.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is why it
Gate of
is
the factory. Yeah, it
yes.
was a bit confusing because the gate of the factory and manufacturing plant, the meaning is somewhat different. But
What
apart from
them?
that, it was really fun, and it was really interesting. Professor Chakravarti's classes were fantastic. I really loved those things. In fact, throughout these 5 sessions, I missed the assignment 4 because I forgot that date somehow. Otherwise, all the 5 week sessions, there was at least for me there was no doubt.
Mhm.
I enjoyed the entire sessions.
Yes, the sessions actually are very well planned and very well delivered.
Hmm.
So, okay, so for the marking, I mean, this is a very subtle point actually. The people who made the question can probably explain it better. My understanding is that what he means when he says in the video that the trucks were at the gate, he is not talking about just the gate. He means like, at that establishment overall. So that is
No issues,
probably
ma'am.
why it is correct, but it is just if you have a doubt, it's good to email the NPTEL team because they are the ones who created the course and the
Mhm.
solutions and everything. So, okay, so
No
for
issues, ma'am.
this week's content, any questions you have?
Week 5.
Yes.
No, no. Week 5 was all the sessions were quite good.
Okay, so
Well,
I have just
and I
prepared a few. Sorry, please go ahead.
no,
You were saying
yeah,
something.
please. I
Okay,
was
so I
saying that
will.
at least to me, at least for me, there's no problem in understanding whatever was being taught in the class in last week. Okay,
Okay,
at least for me.
great, got it. So, Arul Mani, you're asking about the. I'm not sure I understood your question You're saying exam conduction question will be weekly or different types of problems. So I think it might be better if you just unmute yourself and uh, maybe if you can just explain what your question is. I didn't understand from your message. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, so for the exam, um, okay, so for the exam, I'm not sure what the pattern is exactly because again, that is a different team which plans and conducts the exam. So these questions actually you can post in the forum. There is a Google forum. In the Swayam portal, there is an option where you can say ask a question. So that will take you to that Google forum. In that forum, you can ask your question and somebody from the NPTEL content team will answer that. And for the pattern and stuff, I don't know what is the exact pattern for the exam because that's up to the instructor actually. But you will have weekly assignments. The weekly thing is not an exam. The assignments, like you're seeing the quizzes on the portal, that is that you will have every week in the course. But the exam will be, I think, just one final exam. There's no other exam weekly. Does that answer your question? You can type in if you can't unmute yourself. Okay, if you have further questions about the exam and stuff, please email the content team. They'll help you out because I'm not part of the content team. Okay, so I will share a few practice questions and you can just attempt these and see how much, check your knowledge for this week's lecture and discussion. So okay, sample problems. So I'm discussing sample problems only in the class every week. Now I can't really say like what the exam will contain because again, like I said, that is up to the instructor. I don't have any role in the exam, etc. But in every class, I actually do discuss a few sample questions apart from what is there in your assignment, just for you to have a little bit more practice, an idea of the type of questions you can expect in this course, and maybe like for you to just check your knowledge. So I don't know if you have checked, but basically all the practice questions which I discuss like in the class, they are uploaded to a Google folder which is linked on the portal. I don't know if you have seen that. There is a Google folder.
I think I don't have that link, ma'am.
Okay, so I've just posted the link in the chat box. Please bookmark this folder. And on the Swayam portal, if you see on the left side where it says week 0, week 1, blah, 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 right at the bottom, there is some that tabs which says problem solving session, July 2023. So if you click on that, it will ask you to click here to view the problem solving lectures. So then it will take you to this spreadsheet, and in this spreadsheet, you will see everything. Um, there's the YouTube link for weekly videos, and there's also like the folder link. So any content I share in the class, like the practice problems or any handouts or any PPT or anything like that, I upload all of those in the same presentation folder link. So if you open the spreadsheet, the Google spreadsheet, the link is there for the same folder which I've just put in the chat box. So did you get it? Are you able to just check on the Swayam portal if you're able to find it? Maybe you can just check it
Yeah,
now.
I got the link, but I haven't checked it yet. But
Okay.
I'm sure it will be there.
Yeah, so just that link, if you open, there is a spreadsheet for this particular course in which you have weekly YouTube link and the presentation folder link. So you can just check that after the class or something. So whatever I share or discuss in the class, everything I am uploading in that same folder. So you should be able to access it. So week 5 problem set is also there in that folder already. Only week 3 is not there because week 3 I was down with the flu, so I did not take a class. I just logged in to tell people that I can't take the class. Other than that, other than that, everything else is there. Okay, so coming back to the practice problems for this week. So like the first question is, why do you guys think it's called the honeybee network, as is explained by Professor Anil Gupta? Anyone wants to attempt? You can also type in your answer in the chat box. If you're unable to unmute yourself, you can type in the answer in the chat box. Just take a minute to read the options and tell me which options correct.
I think it would be D, ma'am. Option D. In fact, because it involves creation of it, all of the above would be the right option.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else who wants to try? Arul Mani has given the answer in the chat box. Somebody else had also joined. Shri Dhara. Do you want to attempt an answer? Are you there? Can you hear me? I'm not sure if he's there. So see, basically, he gave the example of honeybees when he says that, I call it the honeybee network because he's sort of drawn that metaphor from honeybees. And so if you see, like, he says it very many times that, bees go from one flower to the other and they do cross pollination, which we don't always do. So he wants to encourage cross pollination of ideas in the honeybee network. So that is one of the options. Then the second option B is it involves sharing with others. So if you see, like he has said this many times in the video actually, that he wants people to share their ideas. He wants people to share whatever knowledge they have, whatever know-how they have with everybody, not just their own ideas, but even take the ideas of others forward. So B will apply. C, it says it involves creation of large spread out network. Now, see, his network may be large. The honeybee network may have become large by now, but that was not the central idea behind the network. The idea behind the network was grassroots innovation, right? And he says that they go to, yes, he insisted not to be secretive also. So he wants to go to all the remote areas, all the rural areas, and he talks about people at the margin. So he wants to reach out to people who are already innovative, who are already doing many creative things, but we've not given them a platform or a method or a system, an ecosystem for them to share their ideas or for their ideas to sort of take off as a solution. So for like in the hand pump example, he gave so many examples of how people have tried to solve that problem of drinking water from the hand pump while turning it on while pumping it. So that kind of innovation, what he means is that it's a design problem, and so many people are trying to solve it, but there is no cross pollination of ideas. So C is not the correct answer, because the idea was not for it to be large. The idea was for it to be a platform for sharing of ideas and innovations. Then D does apply, because in D he has he is mentioned in his video how he feels like the knowledge transfer happens between all these remote people and people like who are in academia like us, but they don't get the due credit for it. Like the knowledge provider does not get as much credit as the knowledge producer, which is the academics. So D will apply, which is why E will not be true, because C is not the correct option, but the others are. So the correct answer will be A, B, and D. Okay, so the second question, you want to attempt the second question? You can read it for a minute or so, and then you can answer.
Ma'am, I think the answer would be the capacity to redesign itself during the process of use.
Okay. Anyone else wants to answer? You can type your answer in the chat box if you can't talk. To okay, you're saying to D. Okay. Anybody else? Don't know if Sridhara is back. Okay, so for the second question, he gave the example of the tree, right? Where one of the branches of the tree went horizontally too much instead of growing vertically. And then the branch goes horizontally, but it decides to turn upwards back again, which is the direction in which it was supposed to go in the first place. Then he gave the example of so many cells in the human body which keep multiplying, which keep mutating all the time, but they're not becoming cancerous or something like that. And there are so many health issues which the body may develop over a period of time, but it keeps healing itself alongside while all this multiplication and mutation of cells is happening. So he gave that as an example of autopoiesis. So what he's trying to say is that while a system is being used, like the tree is still alive, it is still doing all its other functions. Similarly, the human body is also still running. It's not like we have given up the body. While the human body is running and performing its all basic functions, it also has the capacity to keep healing itself, to keep correcting itself. That capacity is what he's calling as autopoiesis. And if you go by that definition, then it'll be the option C, which Devasish ji said. So, the capacity to use at the process at the time of design or failure, reduce failure at time of design is still in the initial phase. What he emphasized was that autopoiesis is what happens when you are already using the design. Like he gave the example of a knife, that some knives are tempered so well that the more you use the knife, the sharper it becomes. Right? That's another example he gave for autopoiesis. He said that, like, it's not very easy to achieve that kind of a design, like a self-correcting design or a self-improving design. But nowadays, if you see, like, a lot of the things we use or the items we use, they all have some sort of IoT, machine learning, all that built into it. And what humanity is as collective that we are trying to achieve is autopoiesis, right? That's what we want to achieve. That, every time, for example, like a very simple thing like a biometric login on a mobile or in your laptop or on some machine. So, the it starts improving in its accuracy after the first 10, 15 times. So, like initially you give it only like 3, 4 fingerprint impressions, for example, and sometimes it may give an error. But as you keep using the biometric over and over again, the sensitivity or the capacity to detect the fingerprints, it improves over a period of time with more and more data. So the whole idea of design in general, when we design good products, the purpose, why do we use machine learning in the first place anywhere? It's for that purpose, so that the design can be like a self-learning design, and it keeps improving for the user need, for that particular user, as per the use of that particular user over a period of time. So that is what he's calling as autopoiesis. I mean, I'm not giving the example of machine learning itself, but I'm just saying that the purpose of machine learning and why we use machine learning and IoT in products in the first place is because we want to achieve that sort of autopoiesis in design, which means that we want the design to be self-improving while it is being used, not that you give it for repair, which is why option D is not correct, because the design can be repairable, it should be repairable, but repair means you're not using it. So if you give the design, if you give a product something for repair and then you take it back and then you use it, it's just a repair. You're not it's not correcting its own self, right? Somebody is repairing it. Whereas in this case, like the tree or the knife, like, it's sort of improving and correcting its own self without you or somebody else having to intervene and do something about it. So that's what autopoiesis means. This is, I think, an important concept in the lecture. You might want to take note of it. Okay, so the next question is on the Shodh Yatra. So I'll just give you a minute to read it, and then you can tell me what you think should be the answer.
I think it would be B and C both.
Okay. Others? Okay, so Arul Menu is saying 3A and B. Okay, so if you see the videos in which he's talked about the Shodh Yatra, he has actually mentioned this 2-3 times, and I think it's also there on the website for the NIF and other one. So you see, his purpose in the Shodh Yatra is like I said, like we discussed earlier. So cross pollination of ideas is definitely a purpose, the goal. And then he talks a lot about how using local languages is very important. He mentions that, we want to share ideas, but not just in English, because in all these rural, remote areas, not everybody might be using English. So, he talks about and emphasizes a lot for using all the local languages. So C is definitely true. And if you see, A is also correct because he talks about scouting. So if you see the Shodhyatra, the um, he has mentioned this in this particular order actually, searching and then cross pollinating and then sharing and talking in local languages. So by searching, because the purpose of Shodhyatra itself is to look for innovations, right? He's not just walking like that. He's walking because he wants to understand that communities, and he wants to understand what their problems are, and he wants to empathize, and also he wants to he talked about samvedna, right? So he wants to understand how they process things, how they work. So that's why he talks about uh, all the different teachers he met, because he's searching for people who can teach him something, people who can talk about their creativity, their innovations, their thoughts. So which is why search will also be correct for this particular option. May not seem very obvious at first, but he does talk about it a fair bit. um he he talks in other words also, so like you can word it a bit differently, but he's used this, and it's there, I think, even in the slides. If you check, search is one of the options. So A, B, C are correct. Okay, so I think fourth is the last question, right? So he talks about this upload to download ratio. So if you can see the question, right? So you can read the question and tell me what you think is the correct answer. Okay, you can just type in your answer in the chat box. Oh, sorry, D option, somehow there is an error. It didn't get, I'm so sorry. Somehow it's missing when I downloaded it. Yeah. I just saw that the sentence is not complete. I saved the file, but I think my change didn't get saved, and I didn't notice that. Okay, so just ignore D. Just look at ABC for now. I'll correct the. I'll upload the corrected version in the folder. Um, Sorry, that change. There was some issue with the internet at my end, and I think that change did not get saved. So you can just tell me between A, B, and C which one you think is the correct. You're saying A and B. Okay. So see, when he talks about the upload to download ratio, what he means is that not enough people are sharing their knowledge. That's what he's trying to say. He's not saying that that society was not designed for large uploads. It's not like a system problem. What he's saying is that he says it in a rhetorical way in the video. If you notice, he says that, is this how the society should function? He asks the question. He's not saying that this is how the society should function. So what he's saying is in a rhetorical question sort of a way that, you know, this is not how the society should function, and this is not, the way for us to exist. So what he says this explicitly in the video actually, that we are becoming consumers of knowledge, not producers of knowledge. So most people are only consuming content, they're not creating any content. C will of course not be correct, and D didn't get printed at all, so forget about that. But A is not correct for that reason, because he's not saying that the society is meant to function this way. He said that the society should not be functioning this way actually. So that is what he meant. So I hope, is that clear? Does it make sense to you? Okay. So this question practice problem set, I think there was supposed to be a question 5 also, but my changes did not get saved. So I will upload the updated practice questions to the same folder. And if you have any other questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we will end the class here today, because I can only teach when there people have questions. It's not a very complicated lecture actually. So any other questions you have? Week 5 assignment we can discuss in the next class. No? Okay, all right, then I will end the class here today. If you have any other questions from week 5 assignment, please save it for the next week. We will meet again next week and we can discuss it in the class. Is that okay? Can we end the class? Okay, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll meet again next week.